My name is Daniel, and this is the story of how I grew up believing my stepmom hated me. I was only 8 years old when my mother passed away. She was kind, gentle, and always made our small house feel warm. After she was gone, everything became quiet. My father worked long hours, and I spent many days alone, missing the sound of my mother's voice. 2 years later, my father married again. Her name was Sarah. I hoped she would care for me like my mother did. I dreamed that we would laugh together, cook dinner together, and become a happy family again. But things did not happen that way. From the first week, Sarah seemed cold. She rarely smiled at me. She spoke only when she had to. If I made a small mistake, she became upset. If I forgot to clean my room or left my school bag on the floor, she would say, "Daniel, why can't you do anything right?" Those words stayed in my heart. Every morning she made breakfast for my father, but she usually left my food on the table without saying a word. My father believed everything was fine because Sarah always acted kind whenever he was home. I never wanted to make him worry, so I stayed quiet. At school, my friends talked about family trips and movie nights. I smiled and listened, but inside I felt different. I wondered why I was so difficult to love. One afternoon, I came home with a certificate from school. I had won first place in an English reading competition. I was excited. I thought maybe Sarah would finally be proud of me. I showed her the certificate with a big smile. She looked at it for only a second and said, "Good. Now go finish your homework." That was all. I walked into my room, closed the door, and cried quietly so nobody could hear me. Months passed and life stayed the same. I tried harder. I cleaned the house. I washed the dishes. I studied every evening. I hoped that if I became the perfect child, Sarah would finally accept me. But nothing changed. Sometimes late at night, I looked at my mother's old photograph. I whispered, "Mom, what should I do? Why doesn't she like me?" The picture never answered, but somehow it made me feel less alone. One winter evening, my father had to travel for work. It was the first time Sarah and I were alone for several days. I expected those days to be even harder. On the second night, I became very sick. My body felt hot and I could barely stand. I tried to hide it because I did not want to bother Sarah, but she noticed. She came into my room, touched my forehead, and her face suddenly changed. Without saying much, she rushed to get medicine. She stayed beside my bed the entire night. She placed a cold towel on my forehead again and again. She checked my temperature every hour. When I woke up in the middle of the night, she was still sitting beside me. For the first time, I saw worry in her eyes. The next morning, I quietly asked, "Why are you helping me?" She looked down and did not answer. A few days later, after I recovered, I accidentally heard Sarah talking to my aunt in the kitchen. She said, "I know Daniel thinks I don't love him. The truth is, I was afraid. I never had children. I was scared that I could never replace his mother. Every time I looked at him, I felt guilty because I knew I never could." I stood frozen outside the door. She continued, "Instead of showing kindness, I built a wall around my heart. I thought keeping my distance would protect both of us, but all I did was hurt him." For the first time, I understood that pain can hide behind silence. That evening, Sarah knocked gently on my bedroom door. She sat beside me and said softly, "Daniel, I owe you an apology. I have made many mistakes. You deserved kindness, and I failed to give it to you." Neither of us spoke for several seconds. Then she said something I will never forget. "I can't replace your mother. I never will. but if you allow me, I would like to become someone you can trust." Tears filled my eyes. I nodded. It was a small moment, but it changed our lives. Things did not become perfect overnight. We still had difficult days. Sometimes we misunderstood each other. Sometimes we argued. But little by little, Sarah began asking about my school. She came to my reading competitions. We cooked dinner together on weekends. She even framed my old English certificate and hung it on the living room wall. Years later, when I graduated from college, Sarah was sitting in the front row with tears of joy. She hugged me tightly and whispered, "I'm so proud of you." Those were the words I had waited to hear for many years. Looking back, I learned something important. Sometimes people who seem cold are carrying fears they never talk about. That does not excuse the pain they cause, but understanding can be the first step toward healing. My stepmom once felt like a stranger. Today she is family.